Greetings, this is the Timeshare Traveler, and today is episode 10. I'm getting out of fingers. 8. Leveraging timeshare marketing events. So, just as the overview, it's a great way to learn about timeshares. And as this with this channel, I'm really about learning and getting better, and I try to provide that information to make this better, like this video, because I really want your experience to be better, and I focus on learning and lifelong learning. And really be educated before buying. If you even be educated not to buy, that's fine too. It's really better to do the investigation and find out. So I'll get into that in detail, and I'll talk about my favorite marketing events. I'm focused primarily on the three that I own: the Abound, Hilton Grand Vacations, and Wyndham/Worldmark. And my trial packages for each one of those groups. And then I've got my top questions for timeshare presentations, because whenever you do a marketing event or a trial package, there's always a timeshare presentation. So I have sort of my standard stock ones that I go through. So let me tell you a little bit about my channel, then I'll jump right back into the details of each one of these. Hi, this is Cliff, and I'm the Timeshare Traveler. Welcome to my channel. The purpose of my channel is to educate those who love traveling in timeshares. I've been an owner for 15 plus years at timeshare ownership. I have elite ownership with Marriott, Hilton, and Worldmark. I have published over 100 timeshare video reviews, and I've published over 95 timeshare tips. I can be found on Facebook at Timeshare Trav, at Twitter, Timeshare Trav, and on the web at www.timesharetraveler.com. I'm back. So, great way to learn about timeshares. That is probably the most important thing that if there's one message I can leave with you, you really focus on learning, because you're going to if you make an investment, you're going to have it for years, and you're going to want to learn how to use it and use it to the biggest advantage. Maybe you're not going to be like me and travel for a year, but maybe you're going to want to go to many different locations. You're going to want to really get the most out of it and try to get multiple vacations and stretch your points as far as possible. So it's good to learn about how you can do that and make sure it really makes sense for you. So you get to have a short stay in a timeshare, and it's somewhat just experience what it's like being in the timeshare. It's not just a hotel. They've got kitchens and so forth. And if that's really the kind of vacation you want to do, or no, when I go on vacation, I don't want to cook. Just a hotel's fine, because I'm going to be out and about, and I don't need the extra, bedroom or the living room. It's nice, but it's not that important. I'll just do the hotel. So, just those are the kind of things you can experience by being in the timeshare. And you may say, oh, wow, this extra space, it really allows me to unwind. And for me, that's true. And so that made a big difference for me, versus staying what I always felt like cramped hotels. So the other thing is, some of the events, not always, but some of the events can be with other timeshare people. And that's always good, because particularly when I'm talking about here about trying to learn, and assuming you're newer in the experience or just getting started, or it's really important to try to find those people that you can leverage from. And I use Timeshare User Group, or better known as TUG, as well. Because again, it's all about finding that person that's more experienced. Sort of like if you were going to buy a car, sometimes you can go into a forum of people that own the car and actually find out what it's like beforehand. So that's always, I think, don't underestimate talking to other owners about their experiences. The other thing is, if you are an owner and you can still do the marketing events, just decide if you have enough points. See if, well, maybe I can stretch things. Maybe because again, if you add more points, there's ongoing maintenance for them, and there's actual purchase price. And if you don't need to spend it, don't spend it. So make sure it's worth it to you, because the presentations you go to are all about explaining why more is better, and that isn't always the case. The other thing is, I always try to say, well, whatever level I'm at, or if I'm going to go to the next, does it feel like a gift to myself? Like I'm really happy? Or am I just like caught up in the moment, and I hope I can get through this presentation? And, you can sort of get a sense of that. It should feel like, wow, this is really meaningful to me, and it's a gift, and to my kids and so forth. So it's not just by yourself. I don't mean just you personally. It could be you and your family. And the other thing is I look for inspiration, and what I mean by inspiration there is Like now I can really do things. I can see things I want to see. It's all about the experiences that you can get. And those, if that's inspirational to you, then that's a good sign that you're probably makes sense to you. And again, I'm going to reiterate some of the same points, but be educated before buying. Don't just, I mean, because the whole point of those presentations is they're all about the emotion at the moment, and there that can be high pressure, and so you want to be based on fact based as much as you can. Know what it's like to stay in a timeshare. That's somewhat the same thing I said, the experience, but know what it feels like, and know that that's really what you want. Because usually I book my presentations at the end of my event so that I have a chance to experience it. Um, know what the costs are for buying, like all of the costs. I mean, I finance it, and usually I don't finance it because the interest rates are really ridiculous. But um, understand what the maintenance costs are, because those are going on forever, and see if there are options. If you are interested, see if there are options that are less maintenance, because that's what you'll have for the longest time. The purchase is a one-time thing. It's sort of like adding the extra accessory on the car. It's an upfront cost, but if it's a really thing that matters to you in the car, then it's going to be worth it over the 10-year life of the car, or however long you do have it. Um, know if more points would be a benefit, and that you would use them always, not just wow. Next year I can do blah blah blah. You're going to have these points for a long time, so it, sort of think through in your mind where you're going to go, why it's going to make sense, and everything. Again, I'm very conservative. I try to stretch my points. I try to do off peak. I try to do everything to minimize the use of points, so that I have access to making sure I'm frugal with them. Um, know the locations, where these locations are. I mean, you have options to go to different locations, but know the base locations. And do they feel like a lifetime of joy? Again, you're making a lifetime decision. It's not like a car. In 10 years, you can swap it out and get another one. This is something that can be with you for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And your kids are going to have options and believe in the company, and, that you're potentially investing in. Well, my favorite marketing events from Hilton, I actually like going to Las Vegas, and I don't gamble at all, and I don't drink that much, but I do like Cirque du Soleil. And so one of the things that you get with going to Hilton, Las Vegas, is it's kind of fun that people watch, but there's an option to get some bonus dollars. I forget what they're called, but they actually go toward getting a show, so you end up potentially getting a free show. And I like the Alara because it's got this 8 foot uh, TV screen, and I'm 6'6", so I like the NBA basketball. And there's nothing like watching an NBA game, so I always try to pick a time when there's going to be a game on TV, and nothing like watching an 8 foot screen with an NBA game played. So that's just me. So that may not matter to you. So I get a show. I get to watch people. I love the Alara. It's a wonderful, wonderful building, and that's actually where they have the timeshare presentations. The WorldMark Wyndham weekends. I've had a great experience with that. Um, and I actually went to a concert, and I also had good meals with other owners and got a chance to talk. So it was a really good experience for me. And the cost is relatively mild. Usually it's 4 days, 3 nights. So I made it a long weekend. I got a concert out of it, got a meal, and met with other owners, got a sense of what they saw in it. And so I found that to be a good educational overall around experience. And those are available on an ongoing basis. I believe they're more to owners, but I think if you're not an owner, you can also get involved in them. Um, Now, Marriott, I haven't done them, but I'm actually looking at them now. Is there owner events? And it's kind of a combination event, and it's a low point, so it's sort of like you get the cost to stay at the location plus the meals and the events or concerts or whatever are actually heavily discounted from a points perspective. So it's a combination of using some of your points, but also getting a great experience. Anyway, those are my favorite marketing events. And trial package. I love trial packages because it's like an extra vacation. And I'm in the timeshare so I'm used to the presentations. Those things don't bother me. I'm prepared. I know what I want. I know what I'm looking for. So the trial package, the dreaded presentation doesn't really bother me. And the Hilton Grand Vacations has a VIP package, and what that is you get to use it for a week. Um, and it's good, it's good for a year to year and a half. And I've actually used them to actually when I've done an upgrade, because the thing with the VIP is if you don't actually use it, um, you get twice the money back. So you get that 16.95 back twice. So you get the money you put into it for the trial plus another 16.95. So it's a way to reduce the cost of an upgrade. Plus you get to keep the bonus points. They roll over as the 11,000. So I end up, it's basically, if I am planning to get an upgrade, I'll always get a VIP and then I'll do the upgrade. But I've also talked to people who, around the pool, who've actually done them, and it's a way for them to get a vacation. Basically paying it for a maintenance cost. That's about the maintenance cost for 11,200 points. It can be a little more, a little less, but basically you're getting an extra week's worth of vacations, and that way you can trial, like, can I use this every year? So you use the VIP to see, oh, okay, well, no, I can go up to another 11,000 points because this two-bedroom was really worth it, and I can do that. So it's a good way to try out if you should upgrade as well. So even though you can use them either way, so I think it's a nice combination. And they get offered to you typically when you say no to a presentation, then they'll offer you a VIP to get you to stay engaged. Marriott Encore is similar. You get it's offered to owners and non-owners, which is really great. And the price varies anywhere from 199 to upwards, I think, up to 1,300, depending on if you're doing Hawaii or not. And I've done both ends, the low end and the upper end. And I've used it because I'm an owner, I can use the the Encore to tack on to an existing vacation. So I'll actually extend, or I'll use that to get a second room. So it's a really good option, and it also helps me decide whether, because you can get one of these almost every year once you use it. So I use them to see, should I upgrade? And again, that's a great trial is a great option. I get to see locations I might not otherwise. Wyndham Discover is only available if you're not an owner, and it gives you money back. All the money you put in, you get back. Plus, you can get a large amount of points, which is what I did when I first joined WorldMark. I did the Discover, and I basically got myself. It gave me the option to pretend like I was at a higher level than I was otherwise. So I had more points than what I only bought a 7,000 point deed, or not a deed, but 7,000 points. So I actually had 27,000 points at the time, and I was able to experience what it's like with more points. And I ultimately realized, yeah, I could use these. Anyway, that's what I love about trial packages. And lastly, let's leave you with some of my top questions I ask pretty much in every presentation. I always ask to see the locations and availability. What are the new locations coming on? So in my case, I'm an owner, existing owner, but I would always ask what the locations are, because that's again back to do you really feel good about these locations, and actually have them show you availability. It might extend the presentation a little bit beyond the minimum. So, a lot of people try to just get out as quick as possible. I actually try to learn. So if they show the locations and they can show availability, that's great. Ask them if they're an owner. If they're not an owner, ask them why not. Because if they're here to sell you on how great an ownership is, and they're not an owner, they better have a good reason. Maybe I've had people say, well, I'm not an owner of this, so I have other timeshares, and so I have enough through that. But anyway, I always ask that. And again, I ask, how is this good for me? And I ask that multiple times, because they're so often in their sales pitch telling you about all the wonderful features. If they haven't done a good job asking what's good for you, then often I find that they're not really connected to me. They're just connected to how they can make money. So anyway, I always ask that multiple times. And I ask the sort of corollary is, what's the ROI for making this purchase? how do I, and they're going to try to say, well, it's just the experience is it's priceless and stuff like that. No, 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 because I could do that experience by renting, or I could do it by other ways. So why am I going to be saving money at the end? And again, if they can't explain that, then they aren't really um, necessarily helping you, because you could do it other ways. And what are the additional benefits to me other than the points? If it's just more points, well, you can buy them on resale, or you can do other ways to get additional points. Um, but are the additional benefits that you get? Do you get a different level of perks, and are those perks even valuable to you? I've had people say, "Oh, but you got to have this," and I'm like, "Really?" And then I look at what the value of that benefit is, and it's really not worth it to me. It might be worth it to someone, and I don't want to, you know, cast judgment on others. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful on marketing events and trial packages. Please give it a like and a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe.